In the brutal bare-knuckle world of Georgian England, where blood and glory were traded with bare fists, one man's story began in chains and ended in tragedy. His name was Tom Molineaux, a freed American slave who fought his way into history, only to be forgotten by it. Tom Molineaux was born into slavery in Virginia in 1784. We know little of his youth, only fragments from old reports. But one story, passed down through time, tells how his fists earned him his freedom. Across southern plantations, enslaved men were forced to fight for their master's amusement, brutal spectacles of dominance and cruelty. Molineaux became his master's pride. And one day, after winning a fight that earned his owner $100,000 in wages, Molineaux was granted his freedom. There's even a legend told that George Washington, whose plantation stood nearby, once offered Molineaux a few pointers in the ring. It's almost certainly a myth, but a poetic one. Washington was indeed skilled in combat sports and was called a master of the British style known as collar and elbow. After gaining his freedom, Molineaux moved north to New York City around 1804, carving out a name for himself as a fierce bare-knuckle fighter and proclaimed himself champion of America. But freedom in America didn't mean opportunity. So in 1809, he crossed the Atlantic, seeking fortune in England, the heart of the world's bare-knuckle boxing scene. Though London had seen freed black men before, none would leave quite the impression Tom Molineaux was about to. When he arrived in London, he was penniless. But soon, he met Bill Richmond, another freedman from America, a celebrated boxer, nicknamed the Black Terror. Richmond had fought for his own freedom decades earlier and saw greatness in the young Virginian. He became Molineaux's trainer, mentor, and friend. Under Richmond's guidance, Molineaux rose fast. In 1810, he fought Jack Burrows for 65 brutal minutes, battering him so severely that newspapers wrote it was impossible to distinguish a single feature on his face. Then he crushed Tom Blake, top contender to English champion Tom Cribb, in just 8 rounds. The freedman from Virginia was now one fight away from becoming the champion of England and, by all accounts, the world. But Britain was not ready for a black champion. Before the fight, the Chester Chronicle warned,
"Many of the noble patronizers of this accomplished art begin to be alarmed lest, to the eternal dishonor of our country, a Negro should become the champion of England."
More than 20,000 people gathered in the cold winter mud of Oxfordshire to witness what would become one of the most legendary fights in boxing history. Round after round, the two men exchanged punishment. The American's speed and precision stunned the crowd. One newspaper later wrote,
"We never felt so grateful to Mr. Clarkson and Mr. Wilberforce for their humane exertions to procure the abolition of the slave trade as when we first saw Molineaux knock down Cribb. At once, all distinction of color was lost. We saw before us two human beings, and our hearts beat for the cause of liberty all over the world."
But not everyone felt so enlightened. In the 19th round, with Cribb visibly fading, the pro-English crowd stormed the ring, interrupting the fight. In the chaos, Molineaux injured, perhaps even broke his hand. Cribb's team used the confusion to buy their fighter precious recovery time, an illegal move that changed everything. Still, Molineaux fought on bravely for 35 grueling rounds, until, half blind and bleeding, he could fight no more. Cribb was declared the winner, but many who witnessed the fight knew that night that the better man had lost. 2 days later, Molineaux was invited to the London Stock Exchange. He received a standing ovation and a gift of 45 guineas. One paper remarked that perhaps the English were ashamed for not showing more fair play to the black. When the rematch was set for the following year, Cribb trained like a man possessed, hardening his fists in vinegar and striking tree trunks until his knuckles bled. Molineaux, by contrast, had lost his focus. Wealth, attention, and London's nightlife dulled his edge. He trained little, preferring instead the company of drink and women. In September 1811, the two men met again. But the fire that once drove Molineaux was gone. Cribb dominated him from the opening bell. A powerful blow in the 9th round shattered Molineaux's jaw, and 2 rounds later, he was knocked out cold. The crowd that once admired him now jeered. After the defeat, Molineaux's life began to unravel. He and Richmond parted ways, and the American drifted through Britain and Ireland, fighting for small purses, drinking heavily, and sinking deeper into poverty. In 1818, at just 34 years old, Tom Molineaux, once hailed as the champion of America, died penniless in an Irish lodging house. Tom Molineaux's fists won him freedom, but the world denied him justice. Yet his courage broke barriers few dared to challenge, and through his story, the first generation of black fighters found a path forward. History forgot his name, but every time a fighter steps into the ring, against the odds, they carry a little piece of Tom Molineaux's fight within them.